Cool. Hello everyone. I know normally it's supposed to go out on Thursday, but we decided to do it today, Saturday, post transfer deadline day. So that gives us our theme ready for today is having a look over the main sort of Premier League transfer deadline day moves. So we had quite a few, admittedly mostly loans. So I'm going to try and rattle through some of them as quickly as possible. Give a shout as to whether it's a bit of a yay or a bit of a nay, as it were. Nothing more complicated than that. Cool. So I'll probably start with some of the bigger ones and potentially tail off on the slightly less interesting ones. So hope you can bear with us throughout the whole video. Cool. So we have Jadon Sancho on loan to Chelsea. Personally, I don't get it. I don't think Jadon Sancho's game is suited to the Premier League. I think he works well in the Bundesliga with teams on transition where he has space. Against Premier League defenders, I don't think, and sort of a lack of space, I don't think he can do everything he needs to do. I don't think being in a squad that big with what I could still consider as potential attitude issues, which he obviously had at Man United, at Dortmund, at Manchester City. I don't see that improving or changing at Chelsea. I don't see them turning him around and making him the answer to their solutions, particularly in positions that they've already got covered. And this isn't the usual Chelsea MO of stockpiling young potential players as a player that should be good now, and after his big move to United, it's clear to work out it's not going to happen. It's not a big thing. It's a United clear out as far as I'm concerned. It's something they don't have to think about and worry about. So I think it's a better deal for United than for Chelsea personally. But no, we'll see about that one. Got Raheem Sterling having previous move. Raheem Sterling then going to loan on Arsenal. Now this is a loan move I actually like. This adds depth and cover to an Arsenal front line. This gives the potential opportunity for someone in particular, when I say someone, I mean Bukayo Saka, to have a rest. Someone with Premier League experience, just an experienced player overall, a winner, or sort of a winner, in someone that had put up good goal numbers at Chelsea for a good chunk of the season. What was a failing Chelsea attack. He had 10 plus goals and assists, and was obviously behind Cole Palmer and Nicholas Jackson. Cole Palmer being ridiculously hot form-wise, Nicholas Jackson being the one and only real striker they had. So I think Arsenal have made a good deal there, and particularly if you have a look at the spread of wages, I think Chelsea are still paying 2/3 of his wages, which is ridiculous. I don't know. I don't, once again, don't understand the deals that Chelsea make. There you go. So the first non-loan move, Ugarte to United. This one's been rumoured around for a while. This finally actually fully went through on deadline day. Sort of roughly £50 million. This is a good move as far as I'm concerned. This is someone that I think I've spoken about before in previous episodes. A defensive midfielder, someone who enjoys the tackle, enjoys being physical, someone that can potentially sort of slot in next to Casemiro or replacing Casemiro when sort of potentially in Ugarte, Mainu, Fernandes midfield three, which I personally think is a very strong midfield three, and I think it's the missing piece, sort of balance things out, as it were. So I think this is a big yay. I like this move. United have been making good moves in the transfer market. Now it's just a case of sort of these new players coming in and making the difference. Obviously not quite against sort of Brighton, but they were unlucky there for several reasons, but might not go into that just yet of this video. Next we've got Orel Mangala, who Everton have got on loan from Lyon. So it's central defensive midfielder, 26-year-old, regular Belgian international. For those that know their Premier League footballers, he was on loan at Forest. He was permanently at Forest before he moved to Lyon. So this would suggest that he might not necessarily have had that much of a major impact, considering Forest are a team that naturally sort of aren't sort of top end Premier League. They're a team that are fighting off relegation regularly still at the moment, and the fact that he was deemed surplus to requirements then doesn't bode well for me. It's not an interesting or exciting move for me, so it's a bit of a nay. Cool. Next permanent transfer looking at is Aaron Ramsdale to Southampton, 18.5 million plus potential add-ons. This is a fun move. I kind of like this move, mostly for the player's sort of sake, because he should be getting minutes because he's good enough to be a first-team Premier League footballer. I would have hoped he would have been at a team that's potentially not going to face quite as much traffic, because I think Southampton are obviously potential candidates for relegation. He's going to have a lot of traffic and going to be very busy. This, on the flip side, might highlight how good of a goalkeeper he is to give him half a chance of being England. And I mean, if he does well here, then this is I don't want to say put himself in the shop window, but he's not a goalkeeper I want to see sort of playing in the Championship. He's someone that if he does well, even Southampton get relegated, I want another Premier League team to go after him. I think he should firmly be at least sort of mid of the table, sort of Premier League goalkeeper. That's where I see him. Potentially a bit more than that. This is going to be, it's a good move from Southampton's point of view, getting sort of an experienced sort of Premier League player. But I mean, I suppose good for Ramsdale and good for sort of Southampton, Arsenal, all parties concerned. But I don't know long term whether this might be good for his career or not. Eddie Nketiah to Crystal Palace went through £30 million. Very good striker as far as I'm concerned. Can be considered a bit of a fox in the box. Has had some good goal scoring seasons with Arsenal, having had sort of decent minutes in the last couple of seasons when previous strikers have been injured, and has been an impactful substitute when coming on. However, it's a striker that obviously wants more game time, so he should hopefully be getting that at Crystal Palace. Going to have to unfortunately compete with one of the more formed strikers in the league in Jean-Philippe Mateta, but he's someone different. Maybe he's the option of playing two up top. Maybe he might take a little while to ease into the squad. I think he should do very well at Crystal Palace. I think as long as he's got good service, I think this is a striker that should be getting 10 to 15 goals in the season, and I think the fact that he's also English sort of boldly bumps up the price potentially. But I think this is a very good move. It's probably the most fun moves I've seen so far. Carlos Soler on loan to West Ham from PSG. This was a player a few years ago that was really hyped up and was a very good goal scoring midfielder at Valencia. Unfortunately, moved to PSG where he's had sort of very stiff competition. Has not seen a lot of minutes in the last few seasons that he's been there. I'd like to think he can find his feet as a goal scoring midfielder again at West Ham. I'm not sure whether he suits Lopetegui's system yet or not. And I also think he's got a battle to get into the midfield, because I think the main space that he would like to occupy would be where Lucas Paqueta currently plays, and I don't see you dropping him very easily. Next, you've got Reece Nelson on loan to Fulham. I like this move. I'm incredibly jealous over this move, because he was a player that was also linked to Ipswich for a loan move. Obviously, didn't happen with Ipswich. Maybe he didn't want to move from London. Fair enough. Fulham are considered a more stable Premier League football team. This is sort of adding sort of depth. This is adding excitement. This is adding sort of what I believe is a strong Premier League quality player, and potentially puts himself in the shop window to potentially get bought permanently. This is a win-win-win for everyone concerned. Next we have Armando Broja, who went on loan to Everton. It's good that Everton have brought in a striker. I think they can't solely rely on the two strikers that they have currently. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin, when playing, is good. However, is very injury prone. I think Beto is not cut out for this level or this league, and so I think having the option of someone else different, and is very much a different style of striker, can only be a good thing. However, I don't think he's been prolific enough or strong enough in the Premier League, because he was touted for potential £30 million sort of moves to Ipswich, and so I believe there might be an obligation to buy potentially the season for £30 million. I don't believe he's a £30 million striker. I think he had a good half season at Southampton a few seasons ago. Nketiah, who's at a similar price point, is someone that has scored regularly and I believe has proven a lot more at a more consistent level. And so I don't think maybe I'm just not a big fan of the player. Maybe I'm bitter because it's another player that could have joined Ipswich, but it's a bit of a no-no for me. James Ward-Prowse on loan to Forest, I think smartish, sensible move. Obviously, you're getting someone who's ridiculous at set pieces. I suppose the worry with him is, okay, he's good at set pieces. Can't take that away from him, but and potentially sort of very good technical player, to be able to pass and spray the ball around the pitch. But I'm not sure all the attributes that he brings, whether he's sort of a worthwhile player. If he doesn't score, he isn't scoring or contributing with assists from set plays. I don't know what he offers the team. I don't think he's a particularly hard sort of presser off the ball. I don't think he's someone that sort of brings the ball forwards in the same way that other midfielders do, sort of driving for sort of carries with the ball. So I'm not sure, without set pieces, how much he's sort of worth. Potentially, if you've got big physical striker like Chris Wood, I can sort of see where Forest are thinking. They get the goals sort of through set plays, things like that. I suppose that sort of makes sense from a point of view, but it's not a deal that excites me that much. Cool. We have Andre from Fluminense, who decided to join Wolves for, I believe, his £11 million sort of fee. He's a CDM. He's currently a Brazil international, sort of had several caps, 23 years old. He's a player who I've seen several football YouTubers, including people like James Alcott, tout for potential moves to mid to upper level Premier League teams. He is sort of someone that maybe plays at CDM, but is considered more box to box. So I've got a lot of energy, a lot of physicality. It's not a ridiculous fee, solid age. If he's getting into the Brazil squad, I think he's got to be doing something right. I think this could potentially be a really smart move, and one that a lot of other people might sleep on. You've also had Wolves, who made the £10 million signing for Sam Johnston to potentially sort of compete with Jose Sarr as the main goalkeeper at Wolves. I still rate Sam Johnston very highly. I think he's a very good goalkeeper. I think he sort of did a very good job competing with Dean Henderson, and I think he wants to do his best to establish himself as a number one, so he's going to be right up for it. And I think ability-wise, there's not too much difference between him and Jose Sarr, so I think Sam Johnston could easily nick the number one spot. So I quite like this move. I think this is pretty solid. Next we have Maxime Lacroix from Wolfsburg to Crystal Palace for 21 million plus add-ons. So a very experienced sort of Bundesliga defender. So within the sort of mid-20s, I believe a couple of FIFAs ago, he got very hyped up because he was considered the fastest central defender in the game, which was a bit of a fun one. He's sort of obviously got good recovery pace, sort of very tall, very physical, sort of coming in as the replacement for Joachim Andersen. Andersen himself is someone that's also known for sort of potentially his passing and his leadership, so Lacroix offers something different. So hopefully he can form sort of a good, strong partnership with Mark Grehy for Crystal Palace. So selling sort of Andersen for what they did and to bring in Lacroix, I think that's actually, overall, they've saved a bit of money there. They've brought in a good player, someone that sort of understands Oliver Glasner's style of play as well, which could also be a very crucial thing. So that's a big plus there. I'm happy with that. Next we have Jaden Makoma for Southampton to Brentford, 5 million plus add-ons. It's left back, no appearances, 18 years old. It's one for the future. No real appearances, so I can't really state anything more than that with him. Next we've got Ryan Fraser, so obviously moved from Newcastle to Southampton, who was on loan at Southampton last season. Someone that was also on loan at Ipswich, who I quite like, who I believe was very, very good at Championship level and clearly was for Southampton last year. Someone with a lot of pace who can sort of get forward, cuts the ball back, and then you've sort of actually got a striker that's just got a sort of an easy goal to sort of go for. I sort of rate him very high as a Championship player. I think at Premier League level, I think you'll get a few goals, you'll get a few assists. You can be a bit of a pain in the backside for some defenders. I suppose he's known to the Southampton team and Southampton system. I suppose it does probably improve the first 11 a little bit, but not a substantial amount. One that I think probably might proved to be more useful is Maxwell Cornet, who's gone on loan to Southampton. Not had enough minutes at West Ham. Someone who looked very good at Burnley. Someone who looked very, very good at Lyon, particularly in sort of the Champions League games where they sort of had that run knocking out Manchester City a few years ago. His career in itself has stalled, but I think there is a very good player in there. He sort of naturally works off the left, although has been known to play in several sort of positions, sort of along the left-hand side, as well as I've seen him up front before for West Ham. So it could be a potential sort of good goal outlet for Southampton, so I think that's quite good. Speaking of other sort of good potential goal outlets, I've got Odsonne Edouard on loan to Leicester. I think he's someone that has been quite good for Crystal Palace, but he's sort of a very patchy form player. I think Leicester needed another striker though, because they can't rely on Jamie Vardy, so they brought in someone with experience who can score sort of 10-ish goals, I believe, sort of at Crystal Palace. Whether he gets the same service at Leicester, we'll come to see. I think he's sort of a pretty good simple sign from Leicester as a loan, so it's not too much of a push on them. Next, we've got Carlos Forbes, who's Ajax winger, who's gone out on loan to Wolves. 20-year-old, ex-City Academy. He's sort of been around sort of Ajax and some of their Ajax second team. 22 games, 2 goals. This is a young player who I think they're hoping to explode, but I'm not necessarily sure whether that's going to happen. Although I think they potentially might already have found their cover elsewhere in their squad for Pedro Neto, so I don't know about this one. Then finally, you have Matt Turner, who's gone on loan to Crystal Palace from Nottingham Forest. Obviously struggled greatly as number 1 at Nottingham Forest. I think he'll struggle to get to displace Dean Henderson as number 1 at Crystal Palace. However, he's obviously there to offer some competition. I don't personally think he will. I think it's nothing exciting as far as I'm concerned. But I'd like everyone else sort of in the comments below to let everyone know who they think won the transfer window, as it were, having gone through some of these deadline day signings, maybe some of the bigger signings throughout the window. How well do you how much are they going to improve your team? Are they good? Are they bad? Are they bringing you up? Are they bringing you down? Let us know. Thanks for now. See you later.